the mounting and dismounting of SKF bearings. In all industries, the efficiency and reliability of plant and equipment is dependent on the rolling element, the bearing. It's the heart of all rotating machinery. To ensure a long and trouble-free life, each SKF rolling bearing is a product of the latest technological development and manufactured to the highest precision and quality standards. It's essential that during replacement of bearings, they should be kept as clean as possible and that the correct handling techniques are used. Like the human heart, the service life of the bearing and the reliability of the plant will be compromised if any of these essential factors are ignored when replacing bearings. This SKF training film is about self-aligning ball bearings. The self-aligning ball bearing consists of 2 rows of balls secured and separated on the inner ring by the cage and a sphered outer ring raceway. There are 2 types of self-aligning ball bearings, those with a parallel bore and those with a tapered bore. This film concentrates on the tapered bore type because they're mounted and dismounted in a particular way. The parallel bore types are mounted and dismounted with the same procedures as used for deep groove ball bearings with a parallel bore. They're commonly used in applications like mixing, blending and stirring machinery, also in intermediate shaft positions and fan applications, where the ability for self-alignment is important and the loads are relatively light. For the mounting of the self-aligning ball bearing with tapered bore, SKF supplies a lock nut spanner kit that ensures the correct bearing adjustment is achieved. Make sure that the work area is kept as clean as possible. Use some light oil on the mating bearing surfaces. Do not remove the bearing from its package until everything is ready for mounting it. In this case, the self-aligning ball bearing is mounted on an adapter sleeve. Put the bearing on the sleeve in its appropriate position. Screw on the lock nut but without the lock washer. Hand tighten the lock nut by using the lock nut spanner until bearing and sleeve grip the shaft. Then mark the shaft at the start of the orange adjustment range. Using the handle, turn the lock nut spanner up to the end of the adjustment range. The correct bearing fit will have been achieved. Remove the lock nut and replace the lock washer. By securing the nut back on the sleeve and by bending one of the lock washer tabs into a matching slot in the nut, the correct mounting procedure for self-aligning ball bearings with tapered bore is completed. Do not strike the bearing directly with any hard object like a hammer or a chisel. Always use the right tools for the mounting or dismounting of the self-aligning ball bearings and wear protective clothing at all times. To dismount a self-aligning ball bearing, start by unbending the tab of the lock washer and back off the lock nut with a turn. Place a suitable steel segment behind the bearing, and with some sharp hammer blows, the bearing will be driven off the tapered sleeve, releasing it from the shaft. The self-aligning ball bearing is supplied with a predetermined amount of radial internal clearance. When driving the bearing up the taper seating, take care not to drive it too far, so removing all of the internal clearance, as this will impair the performance of the bearing and dramatically reduce its life. The mounting of any bearing is not complete without applying the correct lubricant and ensuring the effectiveness of the sealing. Remember, effective bearing performance is dependent on cleanliness, careful handling, the right bearing, the correct lubrication, and good mounting and dismounting methods. Only then the race for better bearing performance can be won.